Lastly, we would like to move on to the presentation from Table 5, entitled Participatory Urban Planning, Developing Inclusivity in the Globalized Cities. With this topic, Table 5 aims at democratizing public space use by incorporating civilian participation in the urban development process. It is estimated by the WHO that about 7 billion people are going to live in cities by 2050. A high concentration of humans per given amount of space can pose an array of problems, from hard issues such as increased demand for housing, water, sanitation, healthcare, and educational needs that a city could not sustainably meet long-term. They aim to analyze the most important resource a city has to offer, the human experience itself. This final product is their 4-month-long journey, which hopes that people's participation will refocus a city to be truly for people and by people.
最後にテーブル5、参加型都市計画、グローバル都市における全主体者参加可能な開発による発表をお届けいたします。テーブル5は都市開発のプロセスに市民の参加をより柔軟に取り入れることで、それに暮らす人々にとって有意義な公共空間の利用を目的としています。世界保健機関は2050年に約70億人が都市に住むようになると推定しております。一定の面積に人間が集中することで、住宅、水、衛生、医療、教育などの需要が増大し、都市が長期的に持続できないという問題が発生します。人口が集中することで、さまざまな問題が発生する都市に関する問題を解決するために、最も重要な資源である私たち人間のアクティビティそのものというのに着目し、分析を行ってまいりました。このプレゼンテーションは真の意味で人々のために人々によって都市が再構築されることを期待した彼らの4ヶ月に及ぶ長い旅の成果でございます。ぜひお楽しみくださいませ。それではテーブル5の皆さんよろしくお願いいたします。Table 5 members, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Lan and Ming. Hi everybody, my name is Lan and I will be opening our table presentation with the agenda with the following scope. Introduction, aim, 3 case studies, thematic analysis, recommendation, and conclusion. Next, I will introduce the topic of urban migration and its issues. Most people want to live in the cities. In fact, half the global populations currently reside in urban areas. Better access to healthcare, education, economic opportunities, and such are reasons to justify urban migrations as citizens amass in ever-growing cities. However, bigger cities do not equate better living conditions. Environmental degradations, derelict spaces, social challenges such as inequalities and social exclusion, and lack of green infrastructures are forcing people to seriously consider urban planning as a tool to rearrange available space and organize future constructions, to make cities and human, inclusive, safe, and resilient, and sustainable as a part of UN's 11 Sustainable Development Goals. In the context of contemporary urban planning, 2 questions are usually asked: how to connect people and public space, and how much should people be involved in the planning process of placemaking? These 2 questions sum up 2 main topics of our table paper, which are placemaking, defined as intention of creating public spaces that promote people's health, happiness, and well-being, and participatory urban planning that emphasizes on civilian participation. Next, Diana will talk about our table's aim.
Hello everyone, my name is Diana and I'm happy to present the aims of the paper, which are: first, to shed light on the situation of public involvement regarding placemaking in Japan, Indonesia, and UK, providing analytical data about the pros and cons of the status quo in these countries. Second, to identify the patterns provided by these 3 case studies to seek elements that foster desirable results in public engagement, as well as those results that cause challenges. And third, to develop a vision of desirable action in participatory urban planning, relying on the experiences reflected in the 3 cases provided. And now I would like to hand over to Amy and May, presenting the first case study in Japan.
Thank you, Laura and Diana. Parks are used for a variety of purposes, such as event planning and places for rest. In this section, I will talk about placemaking in parks, using Yokohama Dobutsu Parks as an example. The first adventure in the park is the first park in Yokohama City to adopt Park PFI. This is a new system established to increase the convenience of park users and is attracting attention as a new method for development and operation of urban parks, utilizing the vitality of the private sector.
One of the citizen-led activities is an organization called the Creation and the Voice of the Woods. This citizens groups conducts park path maintenance and nature classes with the aim of increasing communication among citizens through their activities. Here, the nature characteristic of the park and the communication of the citizens are combined to help form a new community. To sum up, this park functions as a platform for citizens, governments, and businesses to create an accessible place as a park. Next case study is Jakarta, presented by Amira.
Thank you, Amy and May, for presenting the case study of Japan. I'm going to present the case study of Jakarta. But the urban villages routes are often used as a shortcut by the motorcyclists. ITDP Indonesia, seeing this as the urban mobility system potentials, then started a community-driven initiative called Kampung Kota Bersama. The outcome of this initiative is to transform urban villages in Jakarta to be more cyclist and pedestrian-friendly to enhance the linkage, comfort, and social abilities. This initiative created new facilities and installations to improve urban mobilization systems while enhancing the residents' environment. Since this initiative involves various bodies and organizations, the solutions and the inputs that are proposed are rightly targeted to the issues and actually solve the occurring problems. Seeing the success of this initiative, the goal of the Kampung Kota Bersama is to be replicated by the other urban villages throughout Jakarta. Now, Soa will present a case study on Newcastle, England.
Thank you, Aliyah. My name is Soma Nishimura, and I'm going to explain about case study 3. Case study 3 is about placemaking around the city central of Newcastle, UK. The background about this case study was that the elderly within Newcastle were feeling uncomfortable due to the city's environment not being elderly friendly enough. Though the council's request of adapting stores with larger signs and implementing sleeping-proof mats through actual insights from the residents, Newcastle was able to reimagine a city that is friendly across all ages through reevaluation based on local requests. Based on the request and subsequent transparent partnership with the Newcastle City Council, Newcastle Elderly Forum, or the Newcastle Elderly Council, was able to become the main voice of implementing ideas with the purpose of creating an all-age friendly city. This is called creative participation of placemaking, and it is a process of understanding the local distinctive nature of a city in terms of population demographic, culture, and history. Similar types of placemaking policies have been adapted in cities such as in Bristol and Cumbria. Through this method of state or city council connecting with local groups to implementing better placemaking policies can create a transparent and co-creative foundation to connect with the city council. But however, there were some issues within this case study as well. Because the connection between the elderly forum and the city council has become too connected, certain demographics have become too prioritized, which has limited the amount of stakes that other people or other demographics can be involved in terms of placemaking. Based on this case, it can be analyzed that participatory placemaking can have its limits, and including every demographic's perspective, and it is difficult to truly create a city for everyone. So next, Midori-san will be talking about the thematic analysis.
Thank you so much. I'm Midori Dobashi. In this section, based on these 3 case studies, we explore the positive and negative paradigm through a process of data familiarization and theme development and revision. Regarding the positive theme, they all explore how different groups participate in the process of placemaking and improve the neighborhood areas to make their public space the heart of community by inventing different activities. Thanks to the use of placemaking method and revitalizing the community as a result, different people, including workers, visitors, as well as the residents, of course, could have been enjoying that place as their third place. Having said that, what we found out is that there are still necessity for improvement on this process and management, which will be introduced as their negative features. The thing is, public involvement has limitation in certain steps. It means that public participation only has involved over the specific phase of the planning process. In particular, in most cases, the government or local authorities still have the major power in the last step of re-evaluation and long-term improvement. The reason why this is so problematic is that policy making and budget adjustment highly depends on this phase. And unfortunately, from analyzing these cases, we can't say there have been enough opportunities and resources for the public to grow their stewardship. Stewardship is the passion of caring for or safeguarding others and their resources, as well as the planning and management of resources. Hence, the planning process is still under the top-down approach, even though the surrounding situation has definitely changed compared to the previous one.
Thank you, Midori. And now, based on the careful investigation of the case studies and thematic analysis, our table developed 5 recommendations to increase civilian participation in urban planning and placemaking strategies. First is the early public introduction on the importance of the built environment. Reaching out to residents from an early age in schools and having subjects on the importance of civil participation is a way to instruct a population about its rights as a public space stakeholder from a young age. Second is the integration of technology. The use of smartphones, big data, and crowdsourcing through online platforms could be tapped as an opportunity to organize data-based solutions for ease of use. Third is the effective use of mixed-purpose land. Ideally, space use should be multifunctional and ready to adapt to public needs. A place's design, materials, and equipment should be flexible so that when the initial goal of the place is not working, it is still available for further renovations and additions. Fourth is the stimulation of cultural events. The presence of cultural events is one of the most focused pillars of placemaking. These cultural events adds to a place's so-called character because it enables inhabitants of a place to express their identities in a public setting that encourages interaction between demographics. And lastly is the equality of human resources. Professionals both in academia and governments should be equally spread out in projects to avoid favoring one area of urban planning over the other. Having a healthily distributed body of experts across different policy implementations can help in reducing inequality of resources such as funding, talent, and opportunity. These are our recommendations, and SOA will now be concluding our presentation.
Thank you, Patricia. And I will be now concluding this presentation. So return to the purpose why we did this research. We analyzed this because we did this research because we want to analyze the potentials of participatory placemaking. Through analysis of 3 case studies from various cities from around the world, we concluded that yes, participatory placemaking could connect residents' needs to make a resident-central urban structure. However, as Midori-san has mentioned, the fixed steps in placemaking have limitations on how much the residents have a say in placemaking overall, wherein our recommendation sections aims to limit these negative themes. With the COVID pandemic affecting our society today, participatory placemaking can be even more limited considering the unpredictable changes in urban needs and societal issues that urban residents face today. It is important to acknowledge the change in urban needs due to the pandemic and analyze both the changes in residents' needs and the local authorities or government's needs within the pandemic. As participatory urban planning's popularity in practice increases, trends remain hopeful. There are more and more cities globally are starting to implement placemaking strategies in their development to improve an overall welfare of its citizens, both in theory and practice. To end our presentation, a quote by one of the most influential urban planners in the modern world, Tai Kei-lo, muses that put a city together, you must know what are its spare parts and how to assemble it. It must be user-friendly, must work beautifully, and it must be attractive. We hope that the next generation will experience more human-centric cities as they grow up. Thank you very much for listening today. And if any inquiries, please enter them in the Google form and we will be happy to address them later on the Q&A. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you for your presentation. We have sent the feedback form in the chat, so please take a moment to fill in.